The role of education in enabling the Sustainable Development Agenda. Education is a key factor capable of enabling the Sustainable Development Agenda, bridging the four dimensions of the Sustainable Development Goals: the economic, the social, the environment, and the governance dimensions. Indeed, pursuing education for its intrinsic value is actually the most promising way to reap the instrumental benefits across a wide range of outcomes. Indeed, considering the relation between education as a bridging factor of all dimensions of the Sustainable Development Goals. Today, educational disparities by socioeconomic status are emerging as some of the largest differentials that can be observed almost everywhere and affect the largest number of children. But also, economic inequality affects economic growth through education inequalities. Indeed, we know that increasing the level of education contribute to ending extreme poverty. Increasing the level of education increases individual and national income. Eradication of extreme poverty requires a complex approach of which education comes first. Equitable growth. We now know that the high level of education in a nation reduces income inequality. Universality, accessibility, and quality of education are the key determinants of an equitable economic growth. Entrepreneurship. Educated people are more entrepreneurial, and skills acquired in schools give invaluable input in developing profitable business plans. In turn, the more entrepreneurs in a society, the more jobs they create for the population, including those affected by the extreme poverty. Foreign direct investments. It is widely recognized that multinational companies invest in nations with skilled labor force. Education, especially quality education in science and engineering, is one of the key elements in attracting FDI to a nation. The more FDI a nation attracts, the higher economic growth it experiences. Research has shown that high-quality early childhood education and care services have very high rates of return, particularly for the most disadvantaged. For example, considering the human rights and socio-political inclusion, educated citizens are more aware and knowledgeable about their fundamental rights. The more literate citizens are, the more demanding they become, and the more pressure they are likely to exert on their governments and local authorities. Conflicts and internal violence. Conflicts, violence, and civil wars are the most significant barriers to the sustainable development. Nations with a large uneducated population has a high likelihood of experiencing a civil war or violent conflicts because these people are easily recruited to different rebel groups. Empowering girls and women for gender equality. Exclusion of women from the public life significantly affects economic growth and increases the likelihood of that nation to experience violent conflicts. Health. Health is essential for sustainable development. And for that matter, education is a key factor, as described in the subsequent topics. Nutrition. Better educated citizens are more aware of which nutrition is essential for healthier life. Education gives people the information they need to choose their food and nutrition, which in turn significantly decreases the levels of numerous preventable diseases. Child mortality and maternal health. Educated parents are able to read and consult an expert or doctor before, during, and after the pregnancy. With knowledge they acquire, they significantly decrease the likelihood of deaths of themselves and their newborn children. Malaria, HIV, tuberculosis, and other diseases. Prevention of many diseases is easier than treating them, and a little knowledge is enough for the prevention in most cases. Educating the youth and adults in schools about these diseases and prevention of them is an effective way to deal with these challenges. The role of education in enhancing environmental sustainability and vulnerability reduction is a recent research area, but we have already numerous studies showing the beneficial effects of education, considering the natural resources. Educated people learn to appreciate natural resources and pressure their governments to use the resources sustainably. Education makes a huge difference because it makes citizens knowledgeable and aware that natural resources are not limitless and that responsible production is a must. Sustainable consumption and production. Education makes citizens become aware of sustainable consumption and production. Consuming water, electricity, and other resources in daily life with minimum waste has a direct implication to environmental challenges nowadays, and can be taught through education in schools. Sustainable energy. While some nations are rich for oil and gas to satisfy energy demand, others use nuclear and hydro energy for their industries and consumption. However, these energy sources are not only limitless, but also cause significant amount of tensions and conflicts both within a nation and in the whole region. Formal and informal education and advocacy is necessary to make citizens aware and active in the process of energy-related projects. Education improves lives of the citizens and stimulates economic growth through many channels, such as creating an environment for better governance by improving health and fostering income equality. Mainly, it can act at the level of accountability. For accountability to work, decision-makers need to provide sufficient information about public policies and spending. Citizens, in turn, need to be able to acquire and analyze information whenever it is not easily achievable. And this acquisition and analysis of information received from the government requires skills which can only be acquired through education. And corruption. Corruption is one of the main elements of governance. Lower level of corruption is highly associated with better governance, which in turn increases the efficacy of public policies. So in education, the SDGs articulate a broader vision that includes not only access, but also quality, equity, inclusion, and lifelong learning. Education is both an end, a goal in itself, but also a means through which other goals are to be met. Part of reducing inequalities is to reduce inequalities in education.